Friends, let me talk to you now about politics. Politics in general and the polluted or the dirty politics in particular. My talk is a general talk trying to bring out the general status of all the governments. Intention is not to attack any particular government. See, when we hear about politics, the first thing that strikes our mind is usually the government or a political party or a politician. The objective of politics is to create a centrally administered government to balance and manage the activities of the country and maintain uniformity. So, this whole process of forming government is the objective of politics. And the reason why we call politics a dirty game, it is because of the politicians. It's a reality. So the politicians are the players of this dirty game. In reality, politics by itself is not dirty. So the reason why politics is dirty is because of the superpower enjoyed by these political leaders. The idea of dirty politics does not only revolve around the corruption, but also includes the nepotism, favoritism, bias, personal vendetta, and all because of the power in the hands of our rulers. India is a rich country, rich because of its rich natural resources like the forest resources, water resources, the mineral resources, and so on. But although India is rich in one way, still it is considered a poor country because of the low per capita income and the low gross domestic product (GDP). So, after fully draining out all India's resources for 200 years, the Britishers left India. And over these 200 years, it was established that India was neither a geopolitically sound nor a homogeneous cultural hub. So, therefore, the noticeable shift of cultural influence and non existence of unity introduced the concept of corruption in India, and it divided the already fragmented India into various smaller parts with the upcoming of so many kings, Palegars, Patels, Jamedars, and so on. So, after the Britishers, our governments decided to take up the Eastern socialist ideology for our economy as against the Western capitalist ideology. So, even though our economy is described as a mixed economy, indirectly ours is a socialistic economy. Growth of our economy, it was very slow than anticipated, and thus the government got powers to monopolize the controls over these decades, due to which the economic growth reduced a lot, resulting in hyperinflation. So the corruption, it has established its roots so deeply in India that it will take many years, many more years to pull it out of its roots. Corruption in India is one of the main issues that should be tackled if it wants to stop the bad side effects of corruption on the economy and on the development of the state, central, and local governments in various ways. And along with corruption in our democratic system, various other activities also started playing a major role, like stealing of ballot boxes, the coerced and intimated votes, excessive money spending, generation of fake voter IDs, selling votes to the poor classes of India, the creation of black money by taking funds from the rich, the disinformation, misuse of proxy votes during elections, and so on. So the already corrupt governments had to struggle in its economic growth because of various reasons. See, the imbalance in the income imbalance or say the parity in the income of the people, the decreased wages for the labor, complicated, highly complicated tax system, complicated licensing system, unaccountable administrative system, immoderate regulations, lack of equal opportunities, the monopoly of the government, unproductive schemes of the government, the outdated legal system and complicated laws, very slow process of judiciary, resulting in the misuse of public goods, public property, abuse of power, bribery, pocketing of public benefits, and so on. So, in the past few decades, India has lost a lot of important assets, especially during the pre independence days. India, it was called the golden bird before we achieved independence, and now it has lost its economic luster. The second largest populated country suffers from large scale youth unemployment, the crumbling of political rights, and unaccountability. The largest contributors to our corruption in the country are the entitlement programs, national spending schemes, the vote banking schemes of focusing on the caste, creed, and religion, reservations purely based on caste and religion, with vote bank in mind, neglecting the economic factors, the need to pay heavy bribes to various regulatory authorities controlling the system, and so on. And the various famous scams that are connected to the corrupt government include the Commonwealth Games scam, the Others Housing Society scam, the mining scandal, the cash for vote scams, the Colgate scam, the Beaufort scam, the Spectrum scam, Telge scam, the Hawala scam, and many more. And even after all these, we don't want to improve our system. See, government authorities, they have very high discretionary powers which enable them to demand undue payments from both the companies and the individuals. So, scandals involving the highly placed politicians, they have come in the way of overall efficiency of the government, and our established ethics have gone down, have gone low in profile. The public servants in India can be penalized for corruption under various laws formulated and established to prevent the corruption in India, like the Prevention of the Corruption Act, the Benami Transactions Prohibition Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the Indian Penal Code, and many such acts in line. But they are all very good in its theory, in the theory part, but government has miserably failed in its strict execution. And for a nation like India, which is still developing economically, India needs literate and educated politicians. Setting a compulsory education limit for politicians and the government officials is therefore a must. An illiterate leader without intelligence or education cannot lead a country. Education is the most important aspect of human development. So, politicians should have the required educational background to understand the gravity of the situation, to understand how to eradicate the problems of our country. For people running the government, it does not require a minimum educational qualification, skills, or morals, but money and power would be enough now. So, because of these reasons, various non deserving candidates they steal the power and then misuse it endlessly. So, what is required today is promoting transparency, flexible access to RTI, the government's openness or transparency, freedom to press, transparency, and accountability. So, these are the ways by which India will be able to reach its desired goal of becoming a non corrupt country and economically sound country. So, other than access to information, the government should provide a more responsible body, enabling the citizens of India for public participation too. The effective law enforcement is a must for a country trying to tackle corruption. And it is necessary to ensure that the corrupt are punished heavily and immediately so as to break the present situation of the rich and politicians escaping the punishments. We are not able to punish the people who are corrupt to the core. Voting should be made compulsory, otherwise withdraw all the government benefits. On the other hand, making available the ID cards, voters ID, licenses, and all other benefits to the entitled group of people. It should be the responsibility of the concerned authorities in the government without making people to run around for them. Failing which, the concerned authorities should be heavily punished. And brain drain should compulsorily be stopped. If everything is conducive, favorable, and all right, then why will talented people go out? Dirty politics, it's a distortion of our trust reposed in the so-called politicians who are elected to represent us in the government. Corruption is spread out in every part of the administrative system, mainly affecting the common people of the country, in spite of the measures taken up by the governments themselves. So, elimination of the corrupt practices happening around us is a long way. We Indians are always optimistic, adjustable, and amicable for everything. We have tolerated everything, including the foreign rule, for centuries, not decades. We realize our undue tolerance, shameless tolerance, when we see the most beautiful, most sophisticated, most sacred, wonderful architectural masterpieces in its horrible, broken state in places like our Belur, Halabi, Somanatpur, and many such places. We have only patience and no reaction for whatever it is. And we are silent spectators. We are very good admirers, advisors, commentators, but we are not good executors. So, to protect against the evil and injustice, let us wait for one more Chhatrapati, one more Subhash Chandra Bose, one more Sukhdev, or one more Lala Rajpat Rai, or Bhagat Singh, or Vallabhbhai Patel to take birth on this earth again. So, let us keep hoping for the best. After all, nothing is impossible, even if we cannot see the change or improvement in our generation. So, thank you, friends. Thank you very much for your patience.